How's it going, everybody? KCG Trades here, back with another weekly watch list and stock market outlook video. So let's dive right in, starting with the Nasdaq Composite. So last week I did mention that the market was a little bit overextended and we were due for a possible pullback, and this week that's exactly what we got. If we take a look at the Nasdaq here, we did pull back 4 days in a row. We actually got an undercut of the 10 EMA on Wednesday. Thursday we had a nice inside day, no real action, and Friday we had a nice recovery, good rebound off the 10 EMA above the Thursday inside day, and we actually had some good volume follow through. So we'll see if this little pullback last week was enough to continue this rebound into new highs, or if we need more time to settle down, base some more, and pull back some more, maybe hit the 21 EMA before continuing higher towards the end of the year. We don't know as of yet, but this little shakeout that we got is good to just reset sentiment just a little bit more, as everything was very extended and very frothy last week. So this little pullback reset was good for the market. If we take a look at the S&P, same situation. We pulled back to the 10 EMA and found nice support there, and today we had a nice rebound above Thursday's inside day. Better volume today than Thursday, so the action is very healthy, very good. We get extended, pull back to the 10 EMA, and rebound off that. That's all you could really ask for, and that's what a healthy looking chart looks like. So that's what's going on here. Same thing with the Dow Jones. We got a nice rebound. This was actually different looking chart compared to the S&P and Nasdaq. However, we did find some support at 10 EMA, and we reclaimed that today. So all in all, I do think we get a nice rebound going into next week. Obviously, I don't know. We could continue to pull back, but when the indexes are near the EMAs, I tend to focus more on stocks itself. We're not extended anymore, I would say. So now that I want to look at those stocks that are setting up for a nice move continuing into next week, and that's really what I'm going to focus on in this week's video. However, if we take a look at the weekly charts for the indexes, it does look pretty good. It just shows like an inside week type of action, and it did show some buyers stepped up, as we saw towards the end of the week. Lower volume, kind of like an inside week, not technically for the Dow Jones, but the S&P, we had a beautiful inside week. Buyers stepped up, and we have a nice little close on the weekly. Lower volume as well. Same thing with the Nasdaq. So this does look to be just like a pause in the overall uptrend. Maybe we get one more week of just some sideways action just to consolidate a little bit more. But everything does look good. But like I always say, manage your risk, wait for those perfect entries, and don't chase anything. You know, the point of us traders is to manage risk and wait for those pivot points. So if none come, don't trade. If they do come, execute. Very simple. And if we take a look at the IBD 50 here on the weekly chart, we do see here a nice recovery. We had a huge shakeout that actually went under the 10 EMA on the weekly, but we recovered nicely. We're still finding resistance off that 52.55 level. If we take a look at the daily here, we have that ugly gap down, but we recovered nicely, still above the 10 EMA. So see if we could curl back up and retest these levels once again. For the IWO, which is the Russell 2000 Growth ETF, same situation. We had a nice breakout, a little bit extended, but we pulled back nicely to the 10 EMA, found some support there, and now let's see if we could continue to move back up. If it goes below this Wednesday low in any of the charts below the Wednesday low, which was the huge shakeout day, then more caution would be. Then there would be more caution, obviously. But for now, as long as we stay above this Wednesday level, stay above the 10 EMA, everything looks good to go to resume an advance. If we take a look at the weekly here for the IWO, nice little almost inside week as well, but still above this breakout level. Same thing with IWM on the weekly. Broke out a nice little just inside resting week on lower volume. And if we just look at the daily here, same thing, still above the 10 EMA. So everything looks pretty good for continuation. Like I've just been mentioning, really focus on those stocks that are setting up, and you could have a possible great week if everything goes well. So that's pretty much what I'm looking at for the indexes, and let's take a look at the secondary indicators. So we have here the Fear and Greed Index. We are currently at extreme greed. We have been for about a week now. So extreme greed, obviously never good. So we may be due for some more pulling back, just another shakeout just to scare some more investors, because being in extreme greed is never a good time to really go long and be aggressive. Market momentum, extreme greed. Safe haven demand, extreme greed. Junk bond demand, extreme greed. Put call options, extreme greed. Stock price breadth, extreme greed. Price strength, greed. Volatility, neutral. So everything currently is in extreme greed or neutral, so that there's no fear in the markets right now. So hopefully that can just continue for a little bit longer while the market continues to go higher. But I wouldn't be surprised to see some more shakeouts, because in November, especially November so far has been a pretty tough month. So we got to see how it acts. We don't want to rush back into positions right away if things aren't setting up. But for now, we just got to be careful. We don't want to get too aggressive, too greedy, because anything can happen, especially if everyone thinks one thing. Like I've been mentioning, if everyone thinks the whole stock market's going to continue to go up, we could be in for, a correction. We could be in for a bigger pullback than what we expect. So we just have to be careful and really just be very selective in what stocks we're buying, our entries, our stop losses, make sure to manage risk, and just keep that equity curve at a highest point. We want to minimize those drawdowns, manage your risk, and hopefully come out this year on a positive note and end up in all-time highs. So with that being said, let's just get right into what I'm looking at this week. I do have about 14 names I'm watching. So let's start it off with Airbnb. So if we take a look at Airbnb here on the weekly chart, we do see here it's in a stage 1 base, in a nice cup base, looking to break all-time highs around the 220 level, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, 220 level. And if we just take a look here, it does look very, very intriguing. I am very interested in this stock, and there's no real setup going into next week, but this is just one I'm really, really focused on. If we see here, we had a nice earnings gap up after announcing earnings last week, and it just kind of consolidated for the past week. But on Friday, we had a huge day, huge volume coming in, and we closed around 206 on 100+ % volume surge. So this is definitely one to watch moving forward. I'm hoping to see some consolidation in this stock before ripping higher. I do want to enter this stock, but I don't want to chase it. So that's really what I'm watching for with Airbnb. If we take a look at fund ownership, it's been growing quarter after quarter. We have 5 strong funds investing in this stock. Last 2 quarters for sales and earnings have been increasing significantly compared to the quarters the year before. Obviously, the use of Airbnb is increasing again because of the fact that COVID is slowing down and people are starting to travel again. So Airbnb is a direct beneficiary of it. So yeah, this is definitely one to keep an eye on, because I truly believe this could be a big winner for the next couple of years. So the next stock we have here is AMPL. I just really like the setup here. It is a fairly new IPO, just kind of ripped from 48.86 all the way to 87.96, and now it's just kind of pulling back nicely to the 21 EMA. First time it touched the 21 EMA, has a nice little falling wedge setup here. So essentially we're looking for the holy grail setup. Very simple. I'm just looking for a break above Friday's high, which is 75.27, so 10 cents above that, 75.37, with a stop around 72, or depending on where we open on Monday, if we open like near these levels, around the 73 levels, and then break higher, maybe the stop would be on Monday's low, depending on how the action is. I'm looking for this stock for a quick trade. Has obviously a lot of momentum because it had a double in nearly less than a month. So let's see if it could continue that after pausing for about a week. Very simple. That's really what I'm watching for. The next stock I'm watching is APP. If we take a look here, we had a huge breakout into all-time highs, had a nice earnings gap up, had a huge day, huge volume, closed near the highs of day around 115. And this is nice after breaking out of a nice little base here, a nice little inside base of the bigger base, broke out of this base and just continued higher. We had an ugly few sessions here. We had a lot of upper wicks. And we closed around the 21 EMA before earnings, but after earnings were released, we had a nice breakout. And on Friday, we had a beautiful inside day on lower volume. So essentially, we're looking for a few more days of possible consolidation. Let the EMAs just get closer to price, maybe just get some sort of action like this, like a nice flag. Or if that doesn't happen and the momentum continues, I'm looking for a break above the high of Friday, which is 116 flat. So 116 flat exact. I'm looking for a break above that, and let's see if we could continue higher into new all-time highs. Next stock we have here is ASAN, which is ASAN. If we take a look at the weekly, it does look a bit extended, so this is one that kind of warrants some caution. However, it still looks good for its continuation. If we take a look at the fund ownership, growing fund ownership for the past 5 quarters. Sales have been growing over 50% for the past 8 quarters. If we take a look at the daily chart here, it has been acting very well, just consolidating for the past month and a half. Thursday, we had a nice inside day on on lower volume, and Friday we actually broke out of it on stronger volume, closed the second highest close of all time, closing at 141.66. So we want to see if this could continue moving forward. I do believe if the market can find some strength and rally some more, ASAN will rip into all-time highs. Friday we did have a very strong day, so looking for continuation going into next week, and the entry would possibly be into all-time highs, or if we could get maybe like a red to green move. I personally bought this on Friday as it broke out of this inside day move, so I do have a bit of cushion on it already, but I'm looking to possibly add because I did not buy a full position, mainly due to the fact that it is a bit extended if we take a look at the weekly. So I do want to be very quick to take profits on this, but I wouldn't be surprised to see this get one more rip, get an extension, and then maybe sell and base off for a longer period of time. So this is definitely one to watch, but be careful with it because it is a bit extended after its huge run up, and that pretty much sums up what I'm watching for with ASAN. So the next stock I'm watching is BE, which is Bloom Energy. There is a lot of overhead resistance on the left side of the base around the around the 40 and upwards level, but the action I'm seeing on the daily chart right now is pretty favorable for a continued move higher. I do like the odds, so that's why it's on my focus list. I am keeping an eye on this. It's not heavy on my focus list, but this is one I definitely want to possibly take a trade in. If we see here in October 22nd, we had a huge gap up on tremendous volume, left it in the dust and continued higher. We held this high volume close and just continued higher. We also had a outside reversal here because we opened below this close, and then we actually reclaimed it. I do believe earnings was announced on this day, November 5th. So the fact that earnings gapped us down firstly, but then we reacted beautifully by recovering and continuing higher the next two sessions shows there is a lot of demand for the stock and institutions are buying this up. And then the next 4 days we kind of just consolidated while the EMAs catch up to price and the stock just takes a bit of a breather. So this is one I'm watching for next week to see if we get a couple more inside days or just some sideways action for maybe Monday, Tuesday, and then break out of this nice little pennant here on strong volume as we continue higher towards those 40 levels and retest these previous highs around the 40-45 level. That's what I'm watching for with BE. And the next stock I'm watching is CPE. So this is Callum Petroleum. This is an oil company, and it has been acting very well here. If we take a look at the overall weekly chart, we do have a bit of a cup and handle look. However, the cup is kind of deep as it was a retracement of over 50%. So that is some caution we have to pay attention to because with cups, we never want to see it retrace more than 30%. So seeing a 50% retracement is kind of worrisome. However, the action is very nice on the daily chart. We recovered nicely. We had a nice little handle here. We broke out of the handle. And then on Thursday, Friday, we had 2 inside days on lower volume. We're still above the 10 EMA. So if this setup is going to work, I want to see it get above Friday's high of 63.45. Get above 63.45, break into all-time highs. My stop would be in the day's low of 61.55. So we're going to be risking $2 to possibly get hopefully in the 70 zones. So that's really what I'm watching for with CPE. However, if it breaks below this inside day, gets below the 10 EMA, I'm going to stay away from it because the fact that this is a faulty base, I don't want to be too focused on this because there is a higher chance of a failed move, higher chance that this won't work. But the fact is 2 inside days keeps me intrigued and I want to see how it acts on Monday. That's pretty much what I'm watching for with CPE. So the next stock on my list for this week would be DoorDash, and this is very similar to Airbnb and Roblox. This is not a stock that really has an entry point as of yet, but this is just one to watch moving forward because of how strong it's acting, how new of a stock it is. So there's lots and lots of room to run. Just breaking out of a fresh IPO base or a fresh stage 1 consolidation, stuff like that is what I'm watching for. So for DoorDash specifically, we just broke out of a stage 1 consolidation. Fund ownership has been growing for the past 4 quarters. We have 2 strong funds who own this stock. And if we take a look at the daily chart here, we actually had a nice gap up on earnings, and Friday we had huge action breaking out of this 227 pivot on strong volume. We are very close to closing at all-time highs, but this is actually the highest close ever in terms of the price that it closed at. This definitely has lots and lots of room to run, but it is a bit extended as of now. I just want to wait for a proper entry. Same thing as I've been mentioning with Roblox and Airbnb. Wait for consolidation, wait for some sort of flag action, wait for an entry instead of just chasing, because when you chase too high, higher chance of getting stopped out or just getting shaken out, stuff like that, or having a big loss from the jump. If we take a look at the sales, been growing above 40% for the past 8 quarters. Definitely tons of positives going on with this stock. So this is really one I'm watching, keeping my eyes on, and really putting this on my focus list for the next few weeks, for the next few months actually, as best as I can to really get an entry and hopefully catch the bigger term move. Similar to Airbnb and Roblox, as I've been saying, one to really focus on, but as of now, no real entry. So the next stock on my watch list is LC. As we see here, we have a nice little flag here after having a beautiful earnings gap up, and we held this high volume close, and we retested it on November 10th, and we actually closed at the same level of the high volume close, which is great to see. That means institutions are supporting this stock. There is some demand for this stock, and we actually had an inside day on Thursday, and Friday we tried to get above it, but we couldn't get enough power, so we kind of had another inside day, not technically, but the fact that it was on lower volume and we're just staying above the 10 EMA shows that sellers are not in control anymore, and it's just kind of setting up for the next move. I do like the flag action going on here, so essentially on Monday I'm looking for a break of this flag, also the break above Friday's high, which is 44.80. so anything above 44.80 I'm looking to go long, with a stop at the below Friday, which is 43.11, and I do believe this could continue higher and rip into all-time highs if the market can cooperate. I really like the fact that this level, the high volume close of 42 held, and the fact that the 10 EMA caught up to price, 21 EMA is catching up to price. I think this one definitely has lots of room to run. So that's really what I'm watching for with LC. Very simple, very straightforward. Either works or it doesn't. And the next stock I'm watching is LYV, Live Nation Entertainment. I did mention this last week as had a nice earnings gap up on strong volume, and I was looking for this type of action here, and it happened perfectly. 5 days straight of just kind of pulling back on lower volumes, kind of a volume dry up compared to the first day of the huge earnings gap up. We let the 10 EMA catch up to price, and it bounced off it perfectly. So essentially what I'm looking for is, depending on how we open on Monday, if we get a gap down or if we just open right above the 10 EMA, I'll be looking to get in as close to the 10 EMA as possible, because I like to manage my risk off the 10 EMA. I don't like to sell as soon as it breaks below the 10 EMA, but I want to see how it closes at the end of the day when it touches the 10 EMA. So for LYV, I'll be looking to enter this on Monday anywhere near the 10 EMA, because I like the consolidation after the earnings gap up. It's kind of like a post EPS flag, which is one of my favorite setups, and once we get that, I'll be looking to go long and see if we could break back into all-time highs in the next few sessions. That's really what I'm looking for with LYV, and the next stock I'm watching is NEWR. So NEWR had a beautiful earnings gap up on super strong volume after breaking out of this nice 3-month base, and since then we kind of just went sideways for 3 days. We had back-to-back inside days, which is great to see. Volume is drying up, sellers are not in control, and volatility is contracting. So this is kind of setting up for another move if all goes well. However, it is still a bit extended after gapping up from 90 all the way to 127, a huge gap up. However, the bigger the gap up, the stronger, essentially. The stronger the move if it could hold, and right now it's holding. So I do believe this is aiming for a higher move. However, it just needs to consolidate a little bit longer. If it could get a few more days of inside bars, that would be amazing to see. Obviously, we can't always get what we ask for. However, I just want to see it consolidate a few more days, let the EMAs catch up closer to price before moving higher, and I'll be really looking to get into this stock. If it could perform the way I'm expecting it, like this little flag here, just fill this out, I'll be looking to go long as long as the EMAs catch up to price, as long as everything acts well, volume dries up, and then we could continue higher into all-time highs. That's really what I'm going to be looking for this stock. Very simple, and as you guys know, these are post EPS gap ups are really what I like to focus on, because those are usually the start of a bigger move. So that's what I'm focusing on for this stock. And the next stock I'm watching is PERI. So PERI has been consolidating nicely for the past about 3 weeks. As we see here, we have a nice ascending triangle here off the 10 EMA. We see the 10 EMA is rising, and we continuously use this as support. There has been quite a few upper rejections off the 30-31 level. So we'll see if we could close above that in the next few sessions. But I'm looking for essentially a move above that 30 level on strong volume. As we see here, since this nice gap up, we kind of just been going sideways, consolidating until the EMAs catch up to price, and that's what's been happening perfectly. And I'm looking for a move, a continuation move above 30 on strong volume, and I'll be looking to buy it. Hopefully we could close above that 30 level, as we haven't been able to close above 30 yet. So if we could do so, that would be amazing. I think we did close on 30 exact on Friday, so anything above 30 would be A++ to see if we could build higher and move into new all-time highs. So that's really what I'm watching for with PERI. Next stock I'm watching is PUBM. Pubmatic, as we see here, there's a lot of overhead resistance, but I do see a character change in the stock after gapping up here on strong volume. Almost 10 million shares traded on November 10th. We got above that 200-day moving average. It was a very ugly close as we gapped up, hit 42, but closed all the way below 35. But the next day we had a nice recovery, nice inside day, opened at 36 and we closed near the highs of 39. So the fact that buyers stepped back in after that huge earnings sell-off after gapping up shows there is a lot of demand for the stock. Good volume as well, about 3 million shares traded. Next day we had another inside day, and we tried to sell off, but we recovered once again. Buyers stepped up near the end of the day, so we closed around 39.40. So 2 inside days in the stock, and I'm looking for a few more days. Hopefully we get some more volatility contraction similar to the past 2-3 stocks that I've just shown you. See if we get some inside action, maybe just like this. And if this could happen, that would be the best situation. Let the EMAs go closer to price, and once we get this pennant, break out into a new recent highs and continue higher. So if we take a look at the next stock, we have Roblox here, starting with the weekly chart as well. It just broke out into all-time highs, and it just broke out of a stage 1 consolidation, stage 1 base, and it is looking very ripe to continue higher. This is a strong growth stock here. If we take a look at the fund ownership, it's been growing for the past 4 quarters, going from 0 funds all the way to 362 in less than a year. 4 strong funds have been invested in this. Sales have been growing above 50% for the past 8 quarters. And if we take a look at the daily chart here, we had a huge gap up on earnings into all-time highs, and the next 3 days we kind of just consolidated, but on Friday we had a huge day. We stayed above this pivot of 103.87. Huge volume came in as well, and this is very similar to my Airbnb chart. This is one I'm really interested in for the next few weeks, few months, because of how strong this is, but it's also a new IPO, so there's lots and lots of room to run. Also with Roblox, every kid I know uses it. They're always on their phone asking their parents to buy more Roblox for them, or they're always on it playing with a bunch of their friends. So this is something that I definitely believe can continue to grow. Peter Lynch theory that whatever you see in person, maybe look at it into investing it, and that's exactly what's going on with Roblox. So same thing, there's no real entry point I'm seeing yet, but I just want to wait for some consolidation, wait for some tightening action, and wait for the next entry before entering. But this is definitely a high priority list for me, high focus list for me for getting into it eventually. So just keep an eye on it, keep it on your watch list, but for now, just be patient. So the next stock I'm watching is TTD, which is the trade desk. Just broke into that $100 level, broke out into all-time highs on Friday, which is great to see. Volume is coming in, and huge volume is coming in the past few sessions after gapping up on nice earnings gap up, sorry. We just continued higher. Now is not the time to be buying this stock because it is a bit extended from the 10 EMA, as we could see here. So pretty much similar to what I always talk about, we want to wait for a low risk entry where we could manage our risk. Right now we can't manage our risk, so I want to see some flagging action here. Hopefully we get some sideways action, just flag for a couple days, maybe even the whole week as the EMAs catch up to price. And once this happens, if it even does happen, I don't know, then I'll be looking to buy this stock. However, if it just continues to rip or there's no place where I could properly manage my risk, I'm not going to be entering this stock. Very, very, very simple. I don't want to spend too much time on this. However, this is one I'm focusing on because of how strong it's been acting, especially after this nice earnings gap up. After I took it off my watch list because it broke down and just wasn't acting right, but as soon as that earnings came out and I see that reaction, I put it back on my watch list, and this is definitely one to focus on for continued move higher back above the $100 level. The last stock I'm watching for this week is which is Unity Software. I'm actually very upset at myself because I messed up this trade terribly. I'm just going to show you guys real quick here. I bought right here at the low at the 21 EMA around 144.35, and I sold the same day, and it just kind of ripped the same until 196.83 in 7 sessions. I know earnings came out on this day, which is why there was such wild action, but even just the 4 days went from 144 all the way to 176 in a matter of 3 days. So that's why I'm upset at myself for selling. I had no business selling, but I did. But that's for something for me to manage, for me to review and figure out why I sold, so it won't happen again. But U has been acting very strong the past 2 weeks. Huge volume coming in, continuously breaking out into all-time highs. We broke out nicely here. We had a nice wick play here on Thursday, and we broke out of that play on Friday. Broke out into all-time highs and just continues higher. So right now we don't want to chase this because we are a bit extended, very similar to TTD. I want to see some sort of consolidation or some sort of flagging action here. So if we don't get sideways, maybe some sort of flagging where the EMAs can catch up to price. Similar to everything I always talk about, never chase, wait for the right entry, wait for those points of where we can manage risk, we get those low risk entries and execute. But that's pretty much my watch list for the week. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know it was a bit longer than usual, but there's a lot of things to cover. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did like it, please hit that like button, share with your friends and family. And if you have not subscribed yet, please hit that subscribe button. Let's have a great week. Thank you for watching. Take care.